Welcome to the Speakeasy and our new sit-down interview series called Whiskey Made Me Say It. We will interview the most interesting and humorous golfers, whiskey makers, and enthusiasts and enjoy their perspective on life. Sit back and enjoy Whiskey Made Me Say It.
Hey there, Speakeasy people. This is Brian Bailey here bringing you a new episode of Whiskey Made Me Say That. We're getting ready to we're doing our special interview section off of this. We're going to drop these on the weekends inside of our podcast. And of course, you can find them inside of Fuel, where you're probably watching today. So this is Brian Bailey here, once again, bringing you a new episode. And we have a new guest, Rob Fales, who's a coach here inside of the Charlottesville area. He works with my son, so that tells you what regard I hold him in and how miserable he must be working with my son. But Rob, I'll give you about 26 seconds. Tell us about yourself.
Yeah, so I'm a graduate of Clemson University's PGA Golf Management Program. Grew up in Harrisonburg, Virginia, about an hour away. Started teaching full-time with Jason Sutton at Carmel Country Club down in Charlotte, North Carolina. And after about 4 years, I met my wife, decided that we needed to come back and get up closer to this area. So the player development leader position opened up at Boar's Head Resort and decided to jump on it. So here I am now.
Awesome. And I told Hunter, who's kind of a head of instruction.
Yes.
Came into Charlottesville, then Rob came in right behind him. And I said we went from the state of Virginia having very few really good coaches to two of them in my backyard instantaneously, which is kind of nice. So again, I'm not going to hand my kid over to anybody, and Rob's been spectacular in helping my son become a little bit better.
Yeah,
but
great.
The one thing Rob knows nothing about
Zero is this right here.
So he didn't really want to come talk. He was like, I want to come talk about drinking whiskey. So we're going to talk a little bit about golf, a little bit about life and things like that, and we're going to sample. We are in our Irish month. So, I don't know, Rob's got red hair. He's got to have some Irish or some Scottish in him. He's got to have something in him somewhere. So this will be taking him back to his roots.
Yeah.
What we're going to do is we're going to take him on a little journey. We're going to go from Tullamarine to Bushmill to Redbreast. So we're going to kind of give him the gamut on Irish whiskeys. And again, all pretty tame. Tullamarine is probably
That was by request.
This is probably my favorite for mixing. It stands on its own. But Bushmill's good just to have. This is actually finished. Bushmill Black is finished in sherry, so you'll get a sweet taste. And then probably my favorite of all the Irishes is Redbreast 12. You can't go wrong. I've never given that to anybody and them not quasi enjoy it.
So now, do you grab these from the upstairs bar, or are these already down here?
No, we have the down.
I've heard that there's two different.
Yeah, we have two levels of bars. Yes, upstairs is a lot of our higher end Irishes and the whiskeys that my wife likes, and all the clear spirits. I like clear spirits. All the browns basically are down here, except for the few that we have upstairs. So yeah, this is more the bourbon bin Irish whiskeys. We have some upstairs, but yes, we do have two bars. Makes it sound like I have a problem, but honestly, I don't. Honestly, I only drink maybe once, twice a week.
No, that's like for entertaining when people come.
Yeah, well, we just we don't want to walk downstairs all the time.
Right.
So, no. So those are usually our better when we have people over, the mixings and things like that. So this is more down and dirty whiskey tasting, and we're getting ready to add some new shelves and start displaying some new bottles and everything. It's always changing and hopefully getting better. So let's start right out the gate. Absolutely, we're going to start here down.
Work down.
So Tullamarine, Bushmill, and then we're going to Redbreast. So the first thing you do is always smell it and try to see if you can get any flavors off it. If you're new, don't worry about it. You can say it smells like fire. It's fine. But over time, you'll start to appreciate it. You can definitely smell some alcohol. I'm remembering.
I got that part.
You can definitely tell.
Yeah.
Now just put that one down and then come back here to Redbreast, which is your third. And do you smell alcohol in that one?
Definitely, yeah.
Yeah, but definitely different flavors though, right? Yeah, no.
Oh man.
Now go back to that one.
I got to remember what I smelled.
Yeah, that's true.
This is how
It's like
much of a newbie I am.
This is like feeling
This is
slope.
like, exactly,
It's
right?
like
We're going
feeling
from
slope.
4 to 2 right now.
Yeah, man. I took you to something that's pretty complex to something that just is going to be less. All right. So again, it's awesome. No, this is trust me. When I first started, I was like, my wife has a wonderful palate.
This might be the first whiskey I may have ever had.
Okay, oh, that's really new. My wife can rip a whiskey apart in seconds and talk about everything, and I'm like, smell like sugar.
It does.
It's all right. So when you taste, you want to put a little bit in your mouth and kind of just swish it around.
Yeah.
Don't really look for taste. No, it's going to burn.
Yeah.
It's alcohol. Take it down, and then your second sip will be a little bit bigger than that. You just want to squash around and leave it in your mouth for a couple minutes, or not minutes, but for a little bit of time, and then see if you can pull any flavors out of it.
Okay.
In worst case, you just taste like fire water. Taste anything other than alcohol?
Caramel?
Yeah, I would say traditionally, honey, vanilla. You can even look at my cheat sheet in there from the other tasting notes from the other night. These are those would be your common.
Yeah.
If we go bourbon, you'll get a lot more caramel, but you're getting the oak and the vanilla, and you're getting the sweetness from the malt.
Yeah.
And also, these are always malty, so they use barley predominantly. You can tell my mouth is a little dry. It's got that dry finish to it. So yeah, you'll start to get like cereal flavors, but yeah, I would definitely go caramel.
I can taste the vanilla now, I think.
Now, so now you know there's vanilla. Now you can tell that there's some different cereals and whatnot. So now taste it again and think of vanilla and cereal and kind of like Cheerios or things like that.
That's super interesting how like you put you like you said, you just like put it in your mouth and then while it's in there, it's changing.
Yes. It completely changes. So
it's really weird.
Where most people go wrong when they drink whiskeys, and I was like this for 30 years of my life, is take a shot of whiskey, pour a shake, throw it back. And it just, all you get is the burn because you don't take the time to taste. So when it sits in your mouth, the saliva in your mouth and all is interacting, takes away a lot of the burn. So
So it doesn't. It's like more burning on the tongue, not burning like down in my throat. Right?
So when you go really high proof whiskeys, you can add a drop or two of water, and that'll bring the proof of the whiskey down and make it burn less.
Yeah.
So a lot of times when people cut it with water, it's actually, so same here, if you put this on top of ice or we drop water in it, it would change the flavor profile. So anytime that you do anything to it, kind of creates it. But the really cool part, this is a good low entry.
Yeah.
Like I said, you can make old fashions, whiskey sours. Like this thing can, like I said, I don't mind sitting down and drinking one of these neat, just a glass. But to me, again, Irishes are very friendly. They don't burn. Like I can give you a bourbon, you'll be like, like fire, like. But
it's interesting, because I think I had like Bullet bourbon one time.
Yeah.
And it just destroyed. I was like, I'm never gonna have like dark liquor again.
We got Bullet in there. We'll have to test them later. No, I think.
But I was probably drinking it wrong. I was just putting it like it was just going right down the hatch.
They're not shots. You can create shooters with them, but when you actually shoot, especially a higher alcohol content whiskey, it's gonna burn if you don't give that time to kind of dance around in your mouth.
Yeah,
it's gonna hurt.
Yeah,
and that's the way the majority of people that drink whiskey just take it.
And that's
what it's designed to be.
And that's why like taking shots, I guess, is kind of like that's why it's a deal, like a not a big deal, but like that's why it's a thing because it's like, all right, we're gonna make ourselves hurt right now. Like,
usually when you do shots, you're drinking for a reason. Like I sit down and I like to sit down and enjoy flavors and that. When you're starting to do shots, you tend to have a different plan for the night.
It's a different intention.
Yes, your intention is elsewhere. It is not that I'm going to sit down with some friends, enjoy conversation, and have a couple drinks. It's, let's see if I can start dancing on the bar in another 35 minutes, right? It's that intention has definitely changed. So again, this is kind of your entry point. To me, one of my favorite, like I said, I think Tullamore was probably that and Jameson Orange, which is a flavored whiskey. We do have that. It's got a lot of orange peel in it, so it tastes a lot like orange. So it's like a cocktail without a cocktail. Those were probably my gateways into starting to appreciate whiskeys. So overall thoughts on that? What did you take away from that?
A lot nicer than I thought it was going to be.
A lot nicer than I thought.
You were, I wasn't getting punched in the face.
Of course not.
much as I thought
None
I
of
would.
these will punch you. Like I said, if you want to do a little sample, I can punch you at the very end, just to bring you back to reality. Let's just talk about.
Because here I've just gotten cocky, right? I felt slope for the first time. I rolled in a 20-footer.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, this is easy,
I
right?
nailed it. All of them are going to taste like this. Well, that's the beauty of it. But again, concept-wise, I know. So you did do the PGM program.
Yes.
And then, did you always know you wanted to coach, or?
100%. Yeah, even really before I got into Clemson, I already knew that because I just, throughout playing junior golf, and I always felt like, in playing high school golf in particular, like my teammates, my friends would always, they see that I had a good swing, and they said, oh, of course, if he's got a good swing, then he must know how to teach, right? So
Yeah.
they would end up asking me for advice, and it felt good to be asked.
Gotcha.
And when I have no idea what I was telling them way back in high school. It was probably garbage, but more placebo stuff, right? Like they would happen to hit a good one, and then I'd be like, oh, that was cool.
Yeah, that was me.
That was me, right?
That was me.
And so I just sort of fell in love with the idea of helping other people improve.
Yeah.
And whenever they would come in and shoot a good score, I would always find that I'd be like more pumped for them than I was for my own score. And so
Yeah.
like that was kind
That's
of a
cool.
clue early on that that's kind of where I wanted to go. And then throughout the semester, like different semesters, we would always have an intro to teaching class. Like we'd
Yeah.
have intro, level 1 teaching, level 2, level 3. And those classes always flew by. I was
Yeah.
always way more engaged in those classes. I was asking questions. I was there, a little bit of banter back and forth with the professor, and all my other classes, I was just like, cart fleet management? Like, what are we doing here?
The reason I am not a PGA pro.
And so, and that just carried over to my internships. I always asked the pro that I was, like the head teacher that I was at, the club I was at, if I could go and watch them teach. And Eric Clayton was the first person that was with, and that was at CCV. And he and I are still great friends to this day. We're even going to do a podcast. And so
that's
it's
cool.
just like, the relationships I've built through coaching have been so much more rewarding, and it's been so great relative to the other parts of the job.
Don't worry about it. That's the backhoe camera shit.
Yeah.
We're good.
Yeah.
That's the one that killed me last. I had technical difficulties last night. It
Yeah.
absolutely ripped me. That's the
Yeah.
culprit. So,
Yeah.
that's interesting. So, coaching was all. Did you want to try to play professionally? Was that ever a thought? Or
Way earlier on.
Yeah.
Way earlier on, yeah. And
What about play collegiately? Was that a goal?
that was definitely a goal. I knew that even though I was going to play in college, I knew I was going to want to coach eventually.
Yeah.
And I had no idea about the PGM program.
Yeah.
Actually, a buddy of mine that I played high school golf against at my home course went and did the one at New Mexico State. And
Okay.
I had no idea about it until he went, because I was trying to get recruited to all these different colleges to play golf. And I was like, all right, well, what am I going to do? And then when I learned that, hey, I can go and literally study golf in college,
Yeah.
I was like, such a no-brainer for me.
Yeah, that's awesome. And then you said you kind of came out, and where was your first real? Where'd you get your chops?
I got
first coaching?
I got very, very lucky. As a senior in college, I signed up for Jason Sutton's Guru Workshop. It was in
love it.
Charlotte. That was a pretty easy drive from Clemson.
Yeah.
And actually, even before that, he and Kevin Britt and Alan Burton, they all came down to Clemson to do a teaching seminar. That was my very first introduction to Aim Point, because they showed us some things there.
That's cool.
But yeah, they asked a very simple question in the first 5 minutes of the seminar: raise your hand if you want to teach full time. And I was the only person who raised my hand in the whole class.
Yeah.
And so when they only saw my hand go up, then they all remembered me. And so then afterwards, like, we all went to ESO Club, which if you've ever been to Clemson, you got to go to the ESO Club. I just was sitting down, and we all sat at the same table. It was me and Jason and Kevin and Alan, and we just hit it off.
Yeah.
Developed that relationship right off the bat, so that when I went to the Guru Workshop, he had already seen me before, which was great. And I reached out, because I didn't have a 6-month internship at the time.
Yeah.
And I said, hey, like, I'm looking for an internship. I want to get into teaching. I love to watch you teach. I'll even work in the shop. So originally, I was going to work in the shop at Carmel, and Jason was able to pull me out of the shop and make me a teaching intern, which was something that they had for me. And then I guess I did a good enough job through that to where he actually it was great timing because one of the teachers there left, and then I just kind of went right into that
slid
role.
right in.
So pretty unprecedented, as far as I'm aware, to start coaching full time right out of college. Usually, you kind of have to work your way into that.
Yeah.
To be able to go out and just absolutely, I'm going to say murder, like not murder, but like really mess people up.
Oh, we murder people all the time.
At that age, at that really young age, I think I got a head start on the learning curve.
Yeah.
And then again, the people that he would have come in, like I was getting James Ridyard to come in and do a school my second year teaching. You know, other guys like Scott Calx went in and did a certification. So I got access to a lot of great minds at a really early age.
That's cool. And the only good news about the golfing public is they're easy to murder because they have no clue. So they accept anything you say.
Yeah.
So they don't know they were murdered. So the beauty is I did a lot of damage, but they don't know. So did I really? Did it? If a tree falls in the woods, kind of thing.
Yeah, I found myself saying, "Oh, you got to get worse before you get better." A lot.
Oh yeah,
First couple
yeah.
years.
That's
That was my cop out, I guess.
well, future listeners that are getting into golf, you don't have to get worse before you get better.
Shouldn't happen.
If your coach says that.
Yes.
But all right. So before we hear more about you, let's jump in here to Bushmills.
Yeah.
Bushmill is the oldest distillery in Ireland.
Oh, wow.
They're in Northern Ireland, so so they're not in the Republic of Ireland. So I guess they're not British, but they're not Irish. So with Bushmill, this is kind of their mid-step. They call it the Black Bush. It's actually their kind of their intro whiskey, but they actually put it in a sherry cask. So it'll give you a little different, probably a little sweeter flavor on the back end. Again, if we go pricing, we're talking $25-$30. We're talking 30 to 40, give or take. So again, a little step up. So typically as it steps up, you tend to get more complexities. So usually the cheaper, the lower the bottles, because like with this one, it didn't sit in your mouth very long. It dried you out, and it just kind of exited. It just left. And these are going to start to hang around a little bit longer. And then, so we'll kind of see where that goes. So again, backup camera, don't care. So what do you smell on that one and taste? Definitely sweeter to the smell on me. Very smooth. Ridiculously smooth.
That's crazy.
Different flavor profiles though. I can taste the malts in the cereal because again, all these are very highly malted. So you're going to get that malt flavor, but definitely different. Doesn't burn.
No
Dry mouth at the end, right? So completely different. Now aging wise, this one's probably aged a little bit longer than this one. So the longer it sits in the barrel, it tends to get smoother. Exceptions, I get it. You can yell at me later. But typically, if it ages a little longer, the barrel will help smooth things out. All of these are triple distilled, which means they run it through the distillation 3 times. And again, that's where Irishes get really smooth. Like a lot of bourbons are 2, so they tend to be a little punchier. So what are your thoughts on this one?
I felt, I could be wrong, it was almost a little fruitier than the other one.
It's a sherry cask, so you're getting the notes from the sherry. So they'll take a used barrel that sherry was in, and they'll age it for a year or so with that. So you'll start to get a little of the wine note.
Yeah.
So that's the Irish were brilliant. The Irish were the first to really say, back in the 70s, 80s, and 90s, whiskey almost died because vodka took over. The clear spirits were cheaper to make. You don't have to age them for decades.
Right.
So the Irish said, hey, the distillers said, let's start doing crazy stuff. So the sherry market collapsed. So France had huge amounts of sherry barrels and sherry, and they had nothing they could do with them. So they were buying the barrels for nothing, and they started to do cognacs and sherries and ports.
My gosh.
So they were using failing alcohol businesses to kind of resurrect theirs, because it really got to the point with Irish whiskeys, they were down to about 3 or 4 distilleries in the entire country. That's how bad whiskey kind of collapsed. Right now we're in the golden age again. Finding whiskeys that get really expensive now, don't want to talk about it. But again, I think the really cool part is back in the night, they had to make a change. They had to do things different. And I think that's so good with golf is that intention of, if it's not working, you got to do something different. Too many players come to me and say, I want to get better at this. And then they're like, well, I'm not going to change. Well, you're not going to get better. You're going to be what you are right now.
Yes.
6 months from now and a year from now. So, but to the credit of their entire kind of industry, they had to pivot and kind of recreate themselves. And I think the golf industry has done a pretty good job. I think I grew up in the 80s as kind of my time when I learned to play golf. I never really took a lesson. When I kind of started to play golf was kind of 80s, early 90s. The video camera was king. Everyone thought that they were going to solve the world, and I think it probably caused more issues than not.
Without a doubt.
Yeah, because, God, if you put the camera in the wrong place, you got video cameras that couldn't record very fast, and so we're getting bowing and parallax effects, so your clubs are doing inverted. It doesn't really happen that way, but you would see it. So there was a lot of issues there, but the revolution of technology into coaching, I think, really kind of took off 90s through the 2000s. Then all of a sudden came radar systems and 3D systems and 6 degrees of motion systems and all this great information. But I think the funny part is coaching didn't change with it.
My favorite quote is, I think, a Stuart Morgan quote. It's we're in a space age technology with Stone Age pedagogy.
Yes, that's pretty close.
They haven't come together.
No,
right?
and I think we got two factions. You got the old people that are like, I'm not going to ever use any technology because it's just blah, blah, blah. And then you have the young people going, I got all this technology, I know everything.
Right.
You might know everything about what's moving at that moment in time and what that is, but to be able to give that to a player and them to digest it and understand it and own it and then be able to apply it, but just not apply it in practice and on the range when I'm seeing them, but being able to apply it inside of tournaments, inside of pressure. I think we as an industry have really dropped the ball. So I think the old curmudgeons, I think, have done really well with a lot of that, but they could be such better coaches, giving better information, maybe moving players faster. And a lot of young coaches now are like, let me tell you, old man, this is how it works. Yeah, okay, but I'm watching your player. You've had him for a year now, and I'm looking, and his scores are exactly the same. His P6 to P6.5 is beautiful.
Yeah.
But does that hold up when he's shooting 83 every time? Just asking.
Yeah.
So, what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I think human nature is we teach oftentimes what we want to teach. We don't teach what the student needs to learn. And that's been the great thing with GameForge is that it's given us such a clear answer to what does the student need.
Yeah.
I think it's been by far. I had a great example today. I went from a guy who's almost a plus handicap. He's basically scratch. And the very next lesson was a complete beginner.
Yeah.
And so in one session, right, I'm showing him this, right, starting to go there. In my complete beginner session, we're here, right? And so super, super different conversations, very, very different ways of going about that because your requirements are different. Just to get it somewhere in here is a much different lesson than to get it somewhere in there. And at the frequency that he needs to get it in there too. So it's like, it was really, really fun, really rewarding just because I now feel like I'm so much more able to just be a chameleon and just flip-flop between, okay, this person just needs it's a race to the green. Like, hey, can we just get the ball on the green more efficiently? Whereas this one over here, like, he was pretty much inside his dispersion. Like, he came for a full swing lesson, and really, it wasn't much of an issue to solve.
Yeah.
And it was more of a conversation, all right, how are you practicing? You know, what are you actually keeping stats? Are you aware of what's going on in your game? And he had no idea. So literally, the session was like sign up for GameForge. Yeah. It was like almost perfect timing. I was like, and I did not plan it out that way, but it was like, hey, like I'm gonna literally your session today is you need to start tracking your stats when you go play. And that was it for the most part. And I showed him some stuff about how to practice. Like he was not including any sort of variability or any sort of time in between when he was practicing, and I think that was one of the big things that
I
I
practice
think
for
he took
perfect lives, and yet the golf course, I struggle.
away. Right. Exactly.
I do not understand.
Yes. Yeah.
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 no,
It
a lot
was.
of that.
It was. Yeah. I find like I've got a couple misses around where it's this ball starting. He's a lefty. Ball starting left and fading. And so I asked him, I was like, okay, so is it just a couple? He's like, yeah, it was just like twice around. I was like, all right, well, do we really need to be spending an hour working on something that's only happening occasionally?
Yeah.
And if it happens more than that, what are you doing in your practice to solve it?
Yeah. How
And
are you?
he's like, well, I feel like I just don't turn enough in my backswing. I'm like, okay, well, first, have you tried to hit the opposite shot? Like, have you tried to do the
something
opposite?
different,
Right? And he had no idea. I said,
Yeah.
okay, so I'm just going to give you the task of can you hit the opposite shot of what you're hitting? And it just took him a little bit, and he was able to.
Yeah.
And he looked back, he's like, I don't know what I did. I was like, perfect. That's the point.
You don't have to know
we
what
don't
you-
have to. Like, we can make this complicated.
Yeah. No one trusts us in the golf industry. We become experts at making
Yes.
it complicated.
I was like, but I don't think we need to.
No, I agree, and I think it's really funny. Well, when he was doing this, you can actually use fingers for dispersions. If you want to learn more, call Robin. Take a lesson. I'm not going to give it away for free.
Right, yeah.
Or you can find some inside of Fuel if you
Yeah.
dig around a little
Yeah.
bit. But I think it's really funny, again, because my son started playing during COVID. I'm not a full swing guy anymore. I haven't taught full swing in 15 years. The last player I taught full swing was Lauren Coughlin at UVA when she was a redshirt freshman. So that's more than a decade, right? So then I went into putting and short game. So my son's learning to play golf, and everyone goes, "Well, I bet your son can putt." I go, "We haven't even talked about it."
Not
And they're-
relevant.
Yeah, and they're like, "What are you talking?" I'm like, "Look, he's shooting in the 90s. 60 of the shots are coming from approaches.
Correct.
30 some are coming on the putting green. If I get him really good on the putting green, maybe he's averaging 36. If I get him to 33, he's only picking up 3 shots. So he goes from 94 to 91. That is not what we need to attack." And
Yeah.
people literally looked at me like, "You're effing crazy." And I'm like, it's not what changes the needle. It's not what he needs. So I got him to a point where I got so frustrated I couldn't go any further. And luckily Rob said, "Let me take that frustration from you." And he's my son's gone from shooting in the 90s to in a year getting in the low 80s, shooting upper 70s right now. And now he's starting to toy around with ideas of maybe trying to play collegiate golf at a smaller school kind of thing. So, but again, the concept of a good coach understands what the player needs and kind of facilitates that. And I think, to me, every time I see Rob and he interacts with my son, the first question he always asks is, "What do you need?" Right? And that is, for any new coach, that's the best question you can ask. What do you need? What are you thinking? You as a coach, if you're keeping stats, you know what needs to be moved. But for that player to take ownership and say, "I think I need to work on this and this," and you go, "Let's go do that." And inside of that, you can kind of push them in where you want them to go and change things. But again, gone are the days of, "Do it this way, this is what I tell you, and
Correct.
this is what it is," or "You're going to get worse before you get better," kind of thing. That is not education. That is not good coaching. So I'm always impressed, like I said, every time I see Rob. And sometimes it's funny because I'll see him and I see him having a discussion in his head. He's like, "How do I want to phrase it?" Like, I can literally see him process,
Yeah,
and I'm just
yeah.
kind of smiling.
Yeah.
Often my son never notices, but I'm just in there going, he's trying to figure out the right word right now.
Mm-hmm.
But to me, again, I think the beauty of coaching and you said it, is adaptability, being able to change. All these whiskey companies changed, right? They created, they've been doing it for 400 years, and they've had to change a bunch to recreate what they needed to do because the public's changed. And then we as instructors have to do a really good job of staying up to date and be willing to change. And I think the big piece, I think why the whiskey market's so cool is people want to learn the history, they want to learn the traditions, they want to learn what it is I'm drinking. It's much more than this brown liquid. There's craftsmanship, there's artisanship, there's all kind of stuff going inside of this. Years and years of tradition. Golf is the same way. There's years and years of tradition. So what I'm starting to think, and kind of my, theorem is, I think we're starting to get pushback from technology. I think we're starting to get golfers, just the general public's just starting to get fed up with technology. Not that we don't want to get rid of technology, but I think there's starting to be a little push, and we're starting to kind of push away from technology a little bit. And I think that's going to bring the coaching side again, where you talked about, they're going to start to merge a little bit better, because gone are the days of you. Like, I've literally watched, I watch coaching anywhere I go around the world. If someone's giving a lesson, and I'll just sit and listen, sit off to the corner. I watched an entire 50-minute lesson where the coach never looked at the player. All he did is look at the box.
Oh
and
my
report the box.
gosh.
And I'm just sitting here going, you're coaching
What
a
on earth?
person. No, you're coaching a person. You're not coaching a box. So again, that concept of, but that's, I think, again, everyone thinks technology is the key. It's a big help. But again, their interactions with human beings, interactions with the athlete, and you've got to get that feedback and their understanding. So, like I said, I think all those technologies are still going to be used, they're still going to be utilized, but I think the masses are starting to come back away, which is good.
I think technology, if used appropriately, I think is extremely, extremely valuable. And one thing that gets lost is the most important time to use technology is when the player is playing their best.
Yeah.
To figure out, here's what's going on.
Yeah.
Right? Because
here's what you're doing good right now.
Who am I to say what's correct for a player, right?
Yeah.
If the ball's getting in the hole at their goal, right, at or above their skill level, then what they're doing is functional.
Yeah.
Right? So we need to figure out what they're doing in that moment.
Yeah.
Right? So that when they go off somewhere else, we have something to reference.
Yep.
With your son, we used TrackMan one day just for feedback. We looked at one number, launch angle.
Yep.
That was it with wedges, and that was literally the only thing we were looking at. I was like, okay, we're just going to quantify your feel of like, okay, if you do this, launch angle's this. If you do that, launch angle's that. It doesn't need to be, the TrackMan does not tell you what to solve. Like, it doesn't tell you what needs to change. It just tells you what's happening.
Yep. It's a reporting system.
It is a reporting system, and I think like you said, too many coaches are just looking at the data without first looking at the human first.
Yeah.
So.
And worse than that, not even looking at performance on the golf course.
Right. Yeah.
You hit the best high draw I've ever seen. I can't break 90.
Yeah.
So what are we trying to do? Be the best high draw player on earth?
Right.
Or do you want to go out and shoot a score in golf? And
Yes.
to me, I beat my head a lot because I have a lot of conversation with a lot of young coaches. I'm like, what is your goal?
Right.
Is your player trying to get better? If that is our goal, we've got to train to get better. We don't have to train. And I think I think in the 90s and 2000s, and there was a lot of models on how to swing.
Yep.
And everyone kind of fell into these different models. And if you fit the model, it worked great. If you didn't fit the model, you were in trouble. And again, most models, about 10 to 20% fit it pretty well. And the other 80 tend to kind of start hitting snap hooks over on the corner of the range.
Yeah.
But again, that concept of, I think, again, kind of like the golden age of whiskeys right now. People are learning more about whiskeys. I think we're going to go into the golden age of golf coaching. Everyone thought the technology was the golden age. I don't think so. I think that was the precursor. I think the golden age is getting ready to come. Now people are going to start to apply coaching as well as technology and really bring those two together better. Because right now it's a little quirky at best. All right, so number 3, my favorite of them all. Again, you can never go wrong with, to me. Now, everybody has different flavors and different tastes, but this is Redbreast. It's a blended whiskey. It's in toasted oak, sherry finished. It's just a good whiskey. So this was probably my first higher end whiskey on my shelf. Again, flavor-wise, notes have changed. What do you smell on that one?
All three have smelled very, very similar to me.
Yes.
The taste changed a little bit.
Yeah.
Definitely on that one.
To me, this has gotten sweeter. They're all sweet. They're all Irishes, and these two are sherry finished, so they're all sweet. But to me, I'm actually picking up more floral notes from this than I did, like none from Telomere. I love them.
So what's a floral note?
Floral note would be flowers of some sort, like something blooming, springtime.
Oh, okay.
Kind of if you walked into Lowe's in early spring when they have all the plants are like all their flowers are blooming, you're getting that floral note. That it's a flowering kind of note. But again, I get tons of malt too. And like I'm a cereal guy. I eat cereal like every morning for breakfast.
What's your go-to?
Oh man, I changed so much. If I want just crappy, I'm gonna go Fruit Loops.
There we go.
Lucky Charms would be those are my
Yeah.
two go-to crappies. I eat lots of granolas. There's a blueberry granola one that I really like, but yeah, if I'm going just straight up trash,
Yeah. Fruit
Lucky
Loops?
Charms and Fruit Loops, man.
Yeah.
I can eat a whole box in like 3 days, man. Just,
I was a big Apple Jacks fan.
yeah, Apple Jacks is kind of like the cousin of the Fruit Loop.
Yeah. Ugly cousin.
Yeah, ugly cousin, the redheaded cousin. Nice. So
Gosh, I still can't get floral out of that.
That's okay. Changed, didn't it?
Super, super different.
So,
Maybe not quite as smooth as that.
okay, you thought the Bushmill was smoother? Cool.
Maybe.
No, it's
They're
fine.
both really smooth.
There's no right or again. It's like golf swing. There's no right or wrong. You're tasting what you taste. Just because you're wrong, it's fine. No, I'm kidding. I'm kidding. No. To me, this has more complexity. So there's different flavors at different times. To me, it tastes like it tastes. It just goes down. I think this one starts to give you on the front of the tongue, like when you first taste it, you get a lot of sweet.
Yeah.
It's really smooth, but it kind of just disappears. This one I get sweet on the front. I get some other pieces moving, dry a little bit, and then it just sits on my tongue. So I would say this is more of an oily finish. It hangs out. Where, like I said, Telemerdue, you took it, you saved it, and it just disappears.
Yeah.
It's just gone. Like this one will hang around for a little bit. I love Red Breast. So I could sit down and drink this any day of the week at any time, even 9 o'clock in the morning. I would have no problem. But again, Red Breast, Bushmill is, when I make old fashions, my favorite old fashioned comes with Bushmill. I love the flavor with that. It's got that little bit of sherry, a little bit of bite. Works really well. And like I said, Red Breast is. So again, the beauty is there's no right or wrong. It's what you like.
You're totally right. It's staying on way longer.
Yeah, it hangs around.
That's
So
interesting.
it's just, again, a little bit different. So again, price points, we go from 20s to about 65, 70. So you're kind of spanning the gamut. But again, there's a lot of low-end whiskeys that I love. There's a lot of now don't go well. So we're not talking like really cheap, like $8 a bottle. It's not going to taste good because it's $8 a bottle. But as you kind of start moving up the pantheon, there's a lot of $20, $25 whiskeys that are really, really good. And again, just because it's like golf equipment too, you don't need to go buy a $100 bottle and go, I'm going to buy the $600 driver. It's going to solve everything. Well, the only thing it's solved is your bank account's $600 less.
That's right.
Or you have more credit card damage. But again, to me, I think, to me, more floral, more vanilla in this. I'm just getting more of everything. But again, like I said, the Bushmills, I like Bushmill as well. So of the three, what was your favorite?
Probably this last one.
Really? Red Breast is good. Yeah, I think, again, the beauty, they all have their purposes, just like golf shots. All swings, they all have purposes. They're all a little different, but it's amazing what you can do with all of them. And again, if you think about it, they're all basically made the same. They're all blended, so they're all different whiskeys brought together. It's not a single pot still or thing like that. So they're all blended. They're all malted. So recipes are very similar. Aging, this is 12 years. This is probably 5 or 6. Telemerdue is probably about 3. So we're getting a little bit of aging differences. But again, if you look at their core, they're the same, but they taste radically different, which is kind of interesting.
So what do they change?
What
to
are they-
get, yeah, like what's the factor that changes usually? Like you said, you've talked about the barrel.
Yeah,
before.
the barrel, the environment, how long it's in the barrel. Even like at a rick house where they store them, there's certain floors and certain parts of the storage makes it better than
That's crazy.
because of the environment, because of the way the air moves through that part of the building. It can actually change the flavors. And this is where I think whiskey is really cool, because if you go to any distillery nowadays, it's technology ridden. It's golf, right? The actual production of the distillant, the spirit that comes out clear,
Yeah.
is so technologically advanced. and then they put it in a barrel, and it's nothing but people. They're moving the barrels around, they're tasting it, they're sampling it over time, adding pieces, subtracting pieces, moving it, doing all. So again, this is where I think golf and whiskey are very funny together, because I think the same thing. Technology's overridden golf until you get on the golf course. And then all that technology is nowhere to be seen because you can't use it.
Yep.
And then it's just you and clubs versus the golf course and environment. And so I think the interesting piece is that, again, it's the person, it's the athlete, it's the distiller that's sampling, testing, and using their abilities to post a score, to create a cool barrel, opposed to then going around and everything being technology. It's not. It always comes back to the human being. Inside of golf, it comes back to that player being able to hit a golf shot. It comes back to the fact that there's a distiller that's blending different whiskeys to give you this flavor. Because again, Redbreast has to taste the same every time you get it, right? That's what they're known for.
That was going to be my first question. Is like, with as much in there that can change it, how much variability are you seeing from?
Not a bunch.
Really?
On the blended, no. If you do a single, like a barrel proof where it comes straight out of a barrel, you can get huge taste differences. The mash is the same. Like everything going into it is relatively the same. It just does different. So what they do with these is they take tons and tons of different whiskeys and they blend it all together, and they'll add coloring so it looks the same and tastes relatively the same every time you get it. So no matter where in the world you go, and Redbreast 12 is going to roughly taste like that. It might be a little variability, but it's going to taste like that.
Wow.
Where if you, like I said, you do a single pot, it can, in a single barrel, and they pour it straight out of the barrel into a bottle, it can be different.
Yeah.
So, but again, there's craftsmanship where they have to blend it and bring this all. And then to me, that's the golf coach. We're the blenders. We're taking all these pieces, giving it to the player to ingest and create.
100%. There are some things that absolutely have to be present.
Yep.
Right? You have to have a centerness of strike.
Yep.
You have to have a face, loft, path, attack angle sort of relationship, and you have to have a speed relative to the shot that you're trying to play. Like those are the fundamentals. Those are what has to be in place for a golf shot to be successful.
Yeah.
But the way you achieve that, right? There are so many different ways.
Too many ways. You can't even catalog it. Can't even catalog it.
And that's why the variability of movement has to be taken into account in how we're coaching. That if we're trying to, like you said, if we're trying to fit people into boxes, you might help some, but you
hope it's the right one, and they become world's number one, and you become the smartest coach in history.
Yep, and we can talk about that.
No, we won't.
But I think it's really, really interesting, the kind of like the parallels. Sure.
No, I agree. And like I said, there was a reason the show came about, because as I was getting into whiskey and researching it more, I was like, oh, that's so kind of the golf industry. It's about, again, it's about more than just the technology of creating a whiskey or creating a motion to hit a ball. It's being able to hit the ball when the shot you need under the lie conditions, under the stresses, under, like Rory at the Scottish, when he hit that freaking low 2-iron, like that was just ridiculous. Like,
oh my gosh,
that was just all the pieces coming together. And it's not a shot you would train a ton,
right?
But he understood what had to happen, what had to move, and just hit the most spectacular shot on earth. And that's when I sit down. And to me, that's the whiskey maker, where he's got the perfect barrel, and he knew, and he pours this bottle, and he's like, I could not have done any better than that bottle right now under these circumstances. And that's that same golf shot. So again, as I've gotten older, I understood technology. I still like it, but I lean on it much less than I used to. I'm more about coaching the human and then adding the pieces, and we can always fill in technology gaps. And that's what I've been working on probably the last 5-6 years of my coaching, and I'm still working on it. Because I was really, do it this way, do it that way, this is what, do it. I'm really working hard on, okay, step back, let them figure it out. Don't give them the answers, teach them to fish. Is the best proverb, right? Teach them to fish, they eat for a lifetime. You give them a fish, they eat for a day. It's that same kind of thing. So inside of coaching, it's that ability to make them a little bit better and let them drive the boat. And again, if you do that and you get them to buy in, coaching sessions are so much more fun.
100%.
The interactions are not.
Because then they're not, if they hit one like they don't like, they're not looking back at you saying, what
happened?
did I do wrong?
It's the worst thing. If your players are looking at you and go, what happened?
You're done.
You need to reassess how you're teaching them because,
Yeah.
again, that's not learning. That's for them to learn. They've got to go, okay, this now. The answer to that is, well, do something different.
Right.
Okay, I don't know what happened, but can you do something different?
And if that happens, you better believe I'm going to hit them right back with a question.
Yeah.
Like, okay.
Questions are your friend as a coach.
Yes.
That's what Gareth McShay. Thank you.
Yeah.
He's worn me out for a long time on that.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think again, the questions are just ask good questions, open-ended questions.
Mm-hmm.
Don't put them in a box.
Nope.
But you'll be amazed on how much faster a player picks up. So Redbreast was your favorite. Do you want to try something completely 180? Just a itty bitty taste, just to see.
Let's do it. Let's
something
do it.
completely
Yeah.
different.
Yeah, because I liked all three of those. Like
Well,
I
you're
did
gonna
not
like this one too.
I didn't think I was.
I'm not gonna give you a bullet. I'll be nice.
Well, this is a whiskey show, right? Not a,
Yeah.
well, I
here
guess.
we go.
Wait, no. What is it? All whiskeys are bourbons.
No. All bourbons are whiskeys.
All bourbons are okay. So
but
Bullet
not-
is a whiskey.
Yes.
Okay.
Actually, it is a bourbon with a high rye count.
Okay.
All right, so we'll do another. This is a different Irish, so I'll be nice. I won't even punch it. But this is probably my favorite, if you can tell the bottle's kind of
Yeah.
leaving quickly.
Yes. What is it?
Drumshanbo.
Okay.
No, not Bryson DeChambeau. Trust me, I would not drink that. But this is a little higher. It says about 88 proof, so it's a little more alcohol. Different flavors.
I'm not getting the sweetness off the.
Completely different taste. To me, back end, I get tons of vanilla and oak. I get that at the back end. And again, Irishes tend to be pretty blondish. Like they don't get super dark, right?
That was different.
So if I hold up Wild
Yeah.
Turkey Rare Breed,
Color's super different.
so you can kind of see, and with American bourbons, they can't add color in at all. But again, super different, right?
Would you say this is smokier?
I would. I get a little smoke. I think it's in the really charred oak barrels. I get oak. I get vanilla. But yeah, this is probably my favorite of the non. I don't think is it single pot.
Well, you were totally correct in giving me the sweet stuff.
So this is actually
really enjoyed
so this
that.
is a single pot. So this is straight. So yeah, this is not blended. It's a single pot.
What does that mean?
So single pot means it comes out of the one distillation process. So it's basically single pot, put in a barrel, cut, put in the bottle. So it's not blended. Really, to me again, it's all barley. It's all barley, a little bit of oats. So again, just a different take on the Irish whiskey. Again, very similar.
Is this
to the way
higher
these are
proof?
made. A little bit. It's about 86, I think. 43% alcohol, give or take. But again, to me, I'm getting a little more smoky, a little more spice, a little spicier, more like Christmas cinnamon cookies and kind of that kind of baking spices, not pepper. I'm not getting pepper.
No, it's not pepper.
Yeah, so it's more like nutmegs and cloves. So I'm getting, which goes really well because with malted, you're thinking breads. So you're kind of going like Christmas loaf kind of thing.
This would be less malted than the other.
They're the same,
Oh, okay.
same, but the processing, they went through a single pot still, where these are just blended whiskeys. So they could have come from pots or they could have come from column stills or whatever. So, but this is more traditional Irish. So pot stills are traditional Irish. So yeah, again, just kind of a goofier version of the Irish.
Yeah.
And that's the beauty of, like I said, I get so excited to try a whiskey because I don't know what it's going to taste like. I just go in completely just open-minded. That's why blind tasting and not to read notes. Like you can go to Redbreast and the master distiller will be like, you should taste this, this, and this, smell this, this, and this. I like to do that after the fact, after I try it myself, and then go, I should have tasted this or that. Oh, crisp green apples or what, I did not see that at all. But then you can go back and try to find those later. But yeah, to me, it's just everyone is just distinctly just a little bit different, and that's the
Every
fun part of
student,
it.
every student's
Thank
a little
you.
bit different.
Everything's just a little bit different.
And I think like the equivalent to that would be like be trying like whenever I get a student, one of my big things I'm huge on is that you have to be able to use your intention to change those skills, right? Low point, where's the low point? Where's my face relative to my path? And then what's my speed? So I will, with literally every student, I will just say, okay, can you show me that you can change these variables intentionally? And I will almost do that without fail relative to whatever student that I have. Now I'm asking them to do it maybe with different tolerances, but with every student I'll basically try them out and see how skillful they are. Because if I don't do that, like I had a really, really weird one the other day where we've been working together and trying to change a pattern where the face gets really open in early downswing. And she's came and said that, I start having a contact error. So, okay, so we're going to just do some of the contact games and we're going to see what happens. Well, for whatever reason, literally when I asked her to try to hit the heel, whereas I asked her like, hey, can you get the low point too far away from you, too far forward? She started closing the face. It's like, makes no sense. I had no idea why. That's the main camera.
Yeah, it's okay. We got side cameras and don't worry about it. We'll finish it up.
But it's like, I had no idea, like you say, you have no idea what you're going to taste. I had no idea prior to that intention for where the low point was going to be was going to, however her brain interpreted that task, was going to change what she did with the club face.
Yeah.
And so I was like, now I know I can use that.
Yeah.
So like, if for whatever reason she starts to open up the face again, I'm saying, okay, we're going to just do some contact drills, try to see if you can get the low point a little further away.
Yeah.
And that absolutely changed her. And I asked her, I was like, hey, what were you trying to do? Can you describe to me how you were trying to get the low point out there? She's like, I was just trying to get the low point over there. And the face changed.
I don't have to know.
No, and it was more, I was asking the question more for my curiosity, because it's like, hey, can you describe anything that you were trying, because I didn't know, why did that face just change?
Yeah. No.
It made no sense. But you don't know unless you try and ask them to do some of this different stuff.
And their motor pattern just created it. And if it's a benefit, it's okay.
Yeah.
Right? It's okay. So we're going to wrap this up. My battery
Sorry,
just
you got
died.
a tangent.
We'll do a little after with the side cameras.
Yeah.
We'll continue this dialogue. But since my main camera just decided to cut off for whatever effing reason, I don't know. It's driving me crazy. Why I'm getting ready to buy a new camera. We'll wrap this show up. Thank you, Rob, for joining us, and thank you all for spending time. Rob, just tell us where they can find you online, where they can reach out to you, get instruction.
Yep. So I'm on Instagram at Coach Rob Fails. I've just started a Threads account. That's the competitor to Twitter or X or whatever you call it.
Whatever it is.
I don't really use that too much. But no, Coach Rob Fails on Instagram. That's where I'm at mostly. And then if you have inquiries about lessons or sessions at Boar's Head, you can find me on the Boar'sHeadResort.com site.
Cool. Thank you so much. So just for fun, since we have the cameras on, let's just be me. We're going to go Wild Turkey Rare Breed.
Okay.
So this is going to be... This is about 118.
This is going to be real different?
Yeah. This is a bourbon. So this is...
Well, now I know how to drink it. Because before I was just knocking it back.
Yeah, no, this is Wild Turkey. So this is Rare Breed. This is they're barrel proof. So it comes, they fill the barrel, they open up the barrel, and they literally just start pouring them in the bottle.
Yeah.
So that's why it's 58. That's what 116. So these were 80.
Yeah.
So we're talking 30% change. But again, a bourbon. So bourbons are going to give you caramel. They're going to give you sweet because it's corn. So their main ingredient is corn, and then they'll have rye, wheat, or barley. Almost every whiskey has a barley because barley's great for the distillation process. Creates sugar really well. So most whiskeys do have some sort of barley. Like the Irishes have 30 to 100%. American would be 4 to 8% barley. Just again, more so to kind of create the sugars because yeast eats sugar to make alcohol. So that's the beauty of it. But again, smells completely different.
Smell the alcohol, first off.
It's a little meaner. But again, I'm getting a lot of
Stings the.
yeah. I'm getting a lot of caramel. I'm getting again. You get that. So yeah, this one's gonna have a little more fire.
Mm. Fire.
Firewater. So again, this is
We just crossed the threshold.
yeah. No. So this would be high octane bourbon. So this
Yeah.
is what you tend to see. American bourbons tend to be brasher,
Yeah.
tend to be more because it's corn based, so it tends to be sweeter.
Yeah.
Yeah, right. Much more of that. Where again, the Irish, as I always say, the Irish proverb is, "There's no such thing as a stranger, it's just a friend I haven't met yet."
Yeah.
Right. So that's the Irish whiskeys. Like
Yeah.
you can kind of roll through the Irishes, and they're all pretty friendly.
Yeah.
Now you can get some that are really peated or whatever, but typically with the American bourbons, you get a little reflux. Yeah, it's good stuff. Put hair on your chest. My grandfather used to say.
Yeah.
Put hair on your chest. But again, this is so. Here's the gamut. It's just like there's just like I sat down with John Pond last night. He's a bourbon head. He loves bourbons, and I'm less bourbony. I like them, but I'm trying to appreciate them more. But so for him, it was like last night we were 124, 125, like boom, all big, and they're all very good. But it's just different. It's different. But smells. Like I said, to me, I get a lot of vanilla. I get a lot of caramel out of this, and then I get some pepper. I get some pepper. I get some burn from the rye. Mouth goes dry and it hangs around.
That's crazy.
So again,
So different than the Irish.
and then if you look, something called legs. So when you finish down the side, you'll see these little legs that will kind of run. If they stick around for very long periods of time, it tells your alcohol level's really high. So the viscosity also, so it runs really slow. Like these, I don't really.
Yeah.
There's not much leg there.
No, that's crazy.
Yeah.
There's like nothing still left on it.
So yeah, but the higher proof, it tends to. So again, that's the goofiness of it all. So there's so much to it, and again, it's just like golf. There's just so much to it. But Rare Breed is probably, of the bourbons, is one of my favorites. This is the one that we drink. If you watch the Around the World with Gareth, Mark, and Chris George stumbled into that. Felt so bad for Chris. Chris is like, yeah, I'm in town.
This thing is.
He's like, can I
kicking
come
my
on by?
butt.
I'm like, yeah, sure, you can come on by. My wife's like, Macy can drive him to the hotel if he needs a ride, because the guys are staying. So, like, Gareth was about to fall asleep. Mark's just like, let's just finish. And so we started, and I was like, well, let's do 2. Just to get something on film, because this is where I'm trying to go. And they're like, fine, we'll do 2. And they're like grumpy. And then all of a sudden it ended up being not 2. We did all 5 main countries, which we started in Ireland, went to Scotland, did American bourbon, then we went to Canada, and then we did Japan.
Where are Canadians doing?
Canadians are cool because the Canucks, they do a lot of blended, but like bourbons and Irish and Scotch, they make a mash. So they'll put in malt with rye, with wheat, and they distill that way. The Canadians will distill just rye, just malt, just wheat, just whatever, and then they blend everything together. So their whiskeys all taste different because it's all the different ones distilled by themselves and they blend that way. Where most of the other countries blend in a single mash, and then they'll add different versions of that whiskey or different barrels and create what they want. So Canada tends to be really smooth, smoother than a lot of times smoother than Irish. But since they're using corn, really sweet. So you get really sweet, really smooth.
Yeah.
As I think Gareth said.
Might have to try this.
Yeah. Sorry. As Gareth said, Canadian whiskey was like drinking whiskey when you don't want to drink whiskey. It's very smooth. I have Crown Royal. Like Crown is their number one. If you drink it, it literally is just.
Yeah.
It's just sweet, smooth.
Yeah.
It's fine.
Yeah.
Not my boat, but
yeah.
But if you go to any bar anywhere in the world, Crown Royal is everywhere.
Does this get sweeter the longer it's so like on the front end? I wasn't really getting hardly anything sweet, but then like I haven't taken a sip in 45, almost a minute now, and like it's lingered for that long. It's like now I'm tasting some sweetness.
I get pepper, spice, This is my on the front end.
Mm-hmm.
Like alcohol,
Yeah.
pepper, spice
Yeah.
goes away, and then I get nothing but sweet and a
Yeah.
little bit of vanilla sitting on my tongue, like a candy. It's like
Yeah.
a Werther's. It's like a Werther's candy.
It's
sitting in my
almost
mouth.
like
I'm getting a caramel Werther, like the old people Werther's candy.
this is what this whiskey's doing to me. Right? I'm taking a drink. I'm like, oh, I don't like that. Put it down. And then I'm just sitting there. I'm like, I'm not going to drink that. And then the longer it says,
talking
and
to
I'm
you.
like, maybe I will go back for another.
I can't hit a high draw. I can't. Oh, I think I can. I know I can. I'm gonna go try. But again, to me, that's
Yeah.
the beauty of them. They're all, and again, like I said, if you took, I mean, just just try to put a drop or two of water in. All right, just as little as you can do. All right, it's gonna taste. I swear to God, it'll taste completely different.
That makes
It'll
no
be
sense.
it'll be harsher.
That makes absolutely no
It's
sense.
gonna be a little harsher.
whatsoever. Harsher?
Mm-hmm. First sip will be harsher, and then it'll change the flavor. Harsher. The second sip will be dramatically better, but that first sip, it gets it exposes flavors that are kind of covered up. So the water changes the molecular, all of it. So some people say the only way to drink whiskey is with water. Some people say the only way to drink whiskey is without water.
Wow. Yeah.
There's no right or wrong. It's what you like, right? But it does change it. So
Mhm.
if you put water in Redbreast, I can't stand it. I will not drink it.
Mm.
It changes the flavor that much to me. It's just, I don't like it.
Mhm.
But some of them I put water in, or ice cubes, and
Mhm.
it's spectacular. So, but now try.
Well, that's yeah,
yeah.
that's interesting. The ice.
Now that it's settled a little bit,
Mm-hmm.
that just took away a lot of the alcohol bite. So my drink just got a little smoother.
100%. Yeah.
Changes it. So this is why people drink it on ice. Slowly melts, changes the flavor.
Oh.
So here's the beauty
Well,
of it.
why is it that at first it's way harsher though?
Because from what I understand is that there's notes in there that are kind of hidden that just can't come through, but the water, once you add the water into it, it just springs different
Yeah.
flavors, just override the system.
Yeah.
So you just start pulling different flavors. That's why some people swear. Kind of most people I talk to, higher proofs,
Mhm.
they'll put a little bit of water to cut it. So you got to think about it when it comes out of a barrel. Now this is barrel proof, so whatever they age it at. So when they distill it, it's going to come out at like 95% alcohol, just like rocket fuel, right?
Yeah.
You can drive a car with it, kind of thing. And then it's really strong. And then what they do is then they'll put it in the barrel, they'll age it, they'll add water. So they'll put it in the barrel and they'll add water and kind of get it to a whatever level they want to. And then in the barrel, it'll actually change as well. But so really high proofs, what you'll see is a lot of people will add water just to kind of cut it, to cut the alcohol down just a little. And it doesn't take much because we're not drinking a lot. So just a couple drops of water completely changes the flavor profile. So there's no right or wrong. Some people swear by it. Some people are like, it's ruining the whiskey. And to me, it's just a different way. It goes back to, it's just a different way. And if it works for you. But yeah, it definitely, like I said, it changes it. It's just weird.
Mm. Wow.
Completely different. The alcohol burn, cut.
Way less.
I got
On that second and third.
tons of pepper on that. I'm getting pepper, really heavy spice. And the sweetness is still there. Still there. So yeah, this one finishes on Galaxy. So corn in the mash is just going to give you sweet. Corn is like the ultimate sweet grain. But, so that's pretty cool, man.
Yeah.
How was your first samples of whiskey?
Yeah.
Pretty fun.
It was fun.
It's cool, isn't it?
Yeah.
So you have to come back.
Absolutely.
And the number one rule of whiskey is you have to share. So anytime people come to your house, you just share. That's the nature of whiskey is to share it. And if you ever go to this is like coaches say you got to get worse before you get better. No, I will say there is one clause or caveat to this, but there's no such thing as we're saving that bottle for something. Whiskey's designed to be shared, and if, hey, let's try this. Now, if you have certain friends that are going to come over and don't really appreciate certain whiskeys, it's okay to hide some.
Yes.
Like, I don't want you sitting over, making whiskey sours with a $300 bottle of whiskey. But overall, like I said, the cool part is it's like I said, their camaraderie and just like, here's what I have, just take what you want, kind of thing, which is kind of a cool kind of subculture, which is very not normal right now.
Yeah.
As a society.
Yeah.
Here, share. No, I take me. So, but yeah, to me, it's just fun. Like I said, here's the gamut of whiskeys.
I feel like now I know how. Like I literally before this, I had no idea how to even drink it.
Yeah.
So now I feel like because I'm big into beer. Like I like all the craft beer and ciders are fine. I like wine from time to time, but opens up a whole new world.
Mm-hmm.
So appreciate it.
My wife just bought me this one. Haven't tried it yet. We'll try it another day.
Yeah.
It is. Cider cask.
Oh,
So they actually aged it the last year in a cider barrel.
Oh my gosh.
So that
That'll
I haven't
be
had yet.
interesting.
That's going to be probably a really sweet finish. But I think the really cool part is, like, the big distillers do what they do, and they do it really, really well.
Yeah.
Like if you get a wild turkey tastes like a wild turkey. Like they're really good at what they do. But like with the craft beers, whiskey's kind of going the same way. There's a lot of craft distillers now, and a lot of them are former beer makers. So they're starting to use a lot of the same grains in beer and making whiskey. So it's getting some really funky stuff out there, which is really cool. So again, it's moving the product, it's doing it different. And again, I think what the craft distiller did to beer, craft distillers are doing to the whiskey makers. They're forcing them to change because they're, Bud Light's a bad example nowadays, but like Budweiser had to change and had to do things different because all these little craft people were starting to, now granted they bought most of them.
Yeah.
They're like, oh, fine, we love that. They just eat them up, but that concept, it forced them to kind of change a lot of the components and see beer different. I think whiskey's kind of going through that same kind of push.
For the worse or for the better?
Depends. What do you like? And for some people, it's spectacular because a lot of whiskeys are not tasting like whiskeys. Now they're tasting like something completely different. So I think, just like there's going to be some people going, this is the best. But I think it's cool because it's different. Some people are going to like it, some won't.
Yep.
But that's life, isn't it?
Yep.
It's pretty much every day of our life. I like that. I don't like that. But to me, I think, whiskey's fun. And like I said, the cool part is, like I said, we probably drank about a full drink, like 1.5 ounces.
Yeah.
So we didn't drink much.
Yeah.
Drank responsibly. But the concept is like I said, I don't drink to get drunk. I drink to
enjoy.
Yeah, just because it's different. Like I said, I get excited every time I get a new bottle. I'm like, I can't wait to taste it. Like literally, I'll pour this much and just enjoy it. I'm opposed to, some people drink with different intentions.
Well, how long did it take for you? Because, I was able to pick up a little bit on what you were picking up on, but not nearly to that level. Like, how long did it take for you to really be able to pull out all this different?
It probably took 6 months. Of
Okay,
just
that's not as long as I thought.
Yeah, trying different flavors. Like I said, the best thing you can do is you can go to ABC stores and they have a bunch of the little, the little traveler bottles.
Yep.
You can get a bottle of that. Don't read on it. Don't do anything. Taste it. What do I smell? What do I taste? How would I define it? And then go back and read the distiller. The distiller says you should taste this, and sometimes they, they're way out there, and I'm like, I don't get any of that. But that's a cool way to kind of just go in blind, because if you read it before, you can kind of coach yourself. Go, I see that now, or okay, I could kind of tell that flavor.
Oh gosh, right now you're talking about a level.
Yeah.
You're talking about a level and aim point. Using levels sometimes.
It's better just to train and do without, and then to check. Use it as a check.
Right.
It's an after, and that's how I learn, right? If I do it, I feel that I create it, I see it, it works. Okay, I put a level down. But to me, again, if we're talking about, hey, what do you need as a player?
Yeah.
You need to experience and do it,
Yes.
and then go find the answer why.
Right.
And that's where I really like it. So I do a lot of blind tastings. There's a company I do that sends me blind tastings every couple months.
Oh, that's
It's
cool.
4 brand new bottles.
Like small ones?
Yeah, right up here. It's called Blind Barrel.
That's
I've done 2 of them so far. So they send you. Yeah. Oops. So yeah, they send you those bottles.
Oh, cool.
And then you taste them, and then you have a QR code. You scan it, and it gives you the whole breakdown of what it is. And then there's your tasting wheel. So they give you, those are some common tastes that you would see with whiskey. So if you're like, God, I taste something woody
I can't tell
or
what it is. Yeah.
spicy, that gives you a sense of this is what you would typically see inside of a bourbon.
So this. Oh, okay, I gotcha.
So you're like, yeah, it tastes like a cereal or a bread, and then it'll say, well, what grain is it? Is it a malt? Is it a rye?
Oh,
Is
okay,
it a
that's what that
wheat?
is.
Is it? So you can start to. So the really funny thing is, John came in yesterday, and I can't tell you the manufacturer or who created it, right? So the first one we did, I was like, God, I'm getting lots of spice, like pepper. It was a rye, and he was like, yeah, it was a rye whiskey. And then the next one he gave me was super sweet, and I was like, it has to be a wheat. Because wheat is just sweet. Because you had corn and wheat together. It's just really sweet. And it was 1792, I think, which was kind of a wheat bourbon. And then the third one was, the best was the third one. It was a 1998 Evan Williams, like probably $8 bottle of whiskey in 1998. And it actually tasted pretty, I could tell it was lower alcohol. Like the other ones were way up there. This one was in the 90s. Like you could tell it was less. And I was like, less alcohol, less complex. I had no clue what it was, and it was just it was like the Tellermerdeux from the 90s. It was really funny because he took me through the entire game, and I got classifications right. I didn't.
Yeah.
But so the cool part is, like you said, if you take my wife and you put her, like she pulls stuff out, like her smells. It's like women typically smell better and taste better than men. So they tend to get. You know, I actually did research on that. It is true.
Yeah, my wife, her sense of smell.
Yeah, it's nice. She goes, "Can't you smell that?" And you're like, "No," because traditionally the men was hunter gatherers, and like where men beat women is we see motion better. So we see quick movement really fast. Like we interpret that really well.
Yeah.
Women don't, because that's not. And when the lion came, there was one group that ran out to meet the lion, and there was one group that didn't. So a lot of that is.
Yeah.
So that concept of is so it's really funny, but like my wife is spectacular. She'll like like my daughter. We tasted one the other day, and she's like, "Let me try a little." And she goes, "This tastes like bananas." I was like, "I don't get bananas at all." And we read the write up, and it said banana bread.
Wow.
And I'm like, I don't taste bananas
That's
at
crazy.
all. So I always say mine is like
really cool.
Mine is like redneck tastings. Like I get, I'm not the pretentious asshole that's in there. I taste the African root of the. I know it's sweet. It's not.
Yeah.
I get maybe vanilla, but But I think that concept of now there's kits you can buy where you can like sniff the different. They're like sniffing kits, so you can sniff vanillas and all that, and then you taste it in your heightened sense, and you can pull out flavors. But screw it. There's enough taste difference that I understood there's a difference. What it was.
Yeah, I mean, even from whiskey to whiskey for sure, but even like front end to back end, like it changes great. Like
it just moves on your tongue. My daughter's got me hooked on that Master Distiller show. Have you seen that? On the Discovery Channel. They were moonshiners, and so they're bringing in other moonshiners, and they're creating whiskeys or whatever. They're making some sort of alcohol on the spot, but they're saying, they're like, I smell this front end, I taste this, back end, I taste this. It's just really fascinating how to create a whiskey and whatnot, or a spirit, but it's really interesting.
Beer, you get that to some degree.
Beer and whiskey are very similar through the majority of the process.
Yeah.
But
it didn't. Beer doesn't go completely 180 like this does.
Yeah.
Like this goes so different.
Yeah. Beer because of the hops and you start changing the hop values and
it more like accentuates it.
Yeah, you can kind of push it one way or the other. Like an IPA tastes a lot different than a Pilsner, and a Pilsner tastes different than a dark So you
Oh,
can
yeah.
you can start getting that swoosh.
Yeah, no, I'm just talking about like the same drink
Yeah.
from like when it first hits your
Yeah,
mouth
yeah,
to
no,
when it's
beer,
done.
yeah, beer,
Like beer, it changes
tends to be
maybe
pretty
a little
flat.
bit,
yeah, it's
but like this changes dramatically.
yeah, it depends. Like the Telmer doesn't. It just kind of
Mhm.
gives you what it gives you. And it
But
kinda
this
says
last one was crazy. Like
the Wild Turkey.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, man, that's good stuff.
Yeah.
But yeah, what you also start to see is typically higher proofs give you more complexity because because you got to think it's coming out of the barrel pretty high, and for them to get it to 80, what are they going to add? Water. It's going to take the alcohol. It's going to take all those flavors and really kind of mellow them, and some of them will just leave.
Yeah.
So higher proof out of the barrels, you tend to get more complexity. Not always, but you
Yeah.
tend to get more complex flavors just because it's, you know, it's
Yeah.
what it was.
Right.
It's, like I said, as soon as we added water, it completely changed that.
That was crazy.
And then,
I had
yeah, I thought it was BS.
It makes no sense.
No, it makes no sense either. But like I said, some people swear, you know, and so,
Yeah.
you know, like I said, in the summertime, putting your whiskey on ice, and people go, that's awful, but I'm like, it's 95 degrees outside. I want to sit outside and enjoy whiskey.
Yeah.
I'm not going to do it neat. Just pour a
Yes.
bottle at room temperature.
Yeah.
Ice is good.
Yeah.
But, you know, like anything, there's extremes, I guess.
Yeah.
Extremes. But, well, cool. I'm glad you enjoyed this.
No, that was fun.
And we'll do it again. Like I said, I'm not hard to find.
Absolutely.
This has been a Fuel production.